Well, happy Hanukkah to everyone who celebrates out there. Millions of Jews across the world are celebrating the third day or third night of Hanukkah. The festival, also known as, well, the holiday known as the Festival of Lights, is now in the middle of the 8-day-long festivities. Let's welcome in now Rabbi Menachem Levine. He is the CEO of JDBY-YTT. It's the largest Jewish school in the Midwest. Rabbi, great to have you with us.
Great to be with you.
All right, so
thank you.
It is tonight's the fourth night of Hanukkah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fourth night. Fourth of eight.
The fourth of eight. So we're halfway through. But I want to talk about why this holiday is so important. It really is the celebration of overcoming the odds, right?
Absolutely. It was a military victory against all the odds. Basically, the ancient Hebrews, the Jewish people who I come from, were a small nation under in this case, the Seleucid Greeks. When Alexander the Great died suddenly, his kingdom was broken into four, and the largest of those four kingdoms was the Syrian Greeks. And they, at a certain point, decided that they wanted one culture for all of the Hellenistic world, and the Jewish people's culture was at odds with the world that they wanted. So they tried to crush the Jews Jewishly. The Jewish people revolted in the year 167 before the Common Era. After 3 years of military fighting, they reconquered Jerusalem and rededicated the temple. The fighting would go on for 20 more years, but eventually would be militarily successful against all odds. Basically, the equivalent of a Cuba defeating a United States and Europe combined. That's how overwhelming the odds was militarily. But the main lesson of Chanukah was it was a spiritual victory against all odds. Really, the spiritual world of the biblical spiritual world of the Jews versus the Hellenistic world of the Greeks, which is focused on the physical, not the spiritual. So that's what we really celebrate on Hanukkah. Both of those amazing victories, which really carry on to our day.
And how does that translate into today's society? You know, when it comes to Christmas, it's all about giving and, that type of stuff. I know there's a lot of that also with Hanukkah, but how do the lessons from the past translate to today? And what do you teach the kids at your school about Hanukkah and why it's so important to still celebrate it?
Right. Well, we have 1,500 kids. So obviously we do teach them about the military victory, but we really focus on the internal victory. America and the world we are today is certainly very hospitable, partially because of religious freedoms, which are unquestionably under attack, something to keep in note, but partially because from the foundation of this country is a welcoming country. That being said, the Western world today really has a focus which is not necessarily family friendly, not necessarily with a focus on internal values. Whether it's the role models that we have, they're all about physical beauty, not necessarily spiritual beauty, about success, which all of these things are fine in and of itself. But if that's the focus, there's a loss of spiritual connection to who we could and should be. And Judaism really believes that hope is greater than despair. So for the children, even though we lived in the time of the Greeks and it seemed that the world was going in a direction that we can never live in, we were always hopeful. Greeks, it was a culture of tragedy with all the greatness. The focus of Greece was polytheism and tragedy, and Judaism was monotheistic. And with hope, the idea of Messiah is a Jewish idea. That light can light up the darkness. To always believe that light, a little light, can light up the night in a darkness. And darkness, when there's light, does not make an effect. So when we have light, when the menorah is shining bright, that we can affect the world. We can affect the world around us. And lastly, as I mentioned, not only hope and despair and light and darkness, but also spirit versus the physical. That ultimately, our greatness as a people, and just really for the country itself, America, its greatness is that we have on our coins, in God we trust. Mm-hmm. America's greatness is that we were built with, yes, religious tolerance, but yes, a belief in God Almighty. And when we say God bless America, that as long as we have that, we as a country and the Jewish people as a people will overcome all odds. And the interesting thing is militarily, a couple hundred years after our victory in Chanukah, we lost to the Romans. But Hanukkah is celebrated 2,200 years later,
Right.
because the spiritual
Hope.
lesson is eternal.
Hope springs eternal. And that reminds me of a Martin Luther King Jr. quote, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Light is the key to everything. Great to see you, Rabbi. Thank you so much, and happy Hanukkah to you and all your students there at the school.
God bless. Thank you so much.